So Hollow Knight was the very first game that we chose for our PodPals section. It's a game that I think a lot of us bought it quite early on. We chatted about it loads. I played it as soon as I got it and then played it for half an hour, then didn't go back to it. Greg was fearing he was going to hate it. We chatted about we need to do it, and then this kind of forced us to finally get stuck into it. So I don't know the best way of going about this, whether we just take it in turns speaking about it. We're going to start with someone from our Facebook group, because we've got a few people on the Facebook and Discord telling us what they think. We'll start with one of them. The first one is Joseph Francis from the Taiwan English Games Facebook group, and he says, game of the year 2018 for me. It's 2019, mate. I'm in my second playthrough after failing Steel Soul a couple of times. I don't know what that is, so that's how far I've got into the game. I don't know what he's talking about.
Hold on, I finished the game and I couldn't tell you what Steel Soul is.
You can't tell it. You don't know what Steel Soul is.
Steel
Soul is if you die, that's it. Game over.
Right, okay.
That's the hardcore mode.
Fair enough.
I couldn't have told you either.
Okay.
Good.
Hence why the next sentence.
He's tried Steel Soul a couple of times.
And he's just given up because it's impossible.
He's going to give it up, yeah. But he says, after playing this game for over 110 hours, I'm still discovering new places and characters. No particular anecdotes. Oh, cheers,
Impossible.
Except that Quirrell is my best friend, and I will defend him until I die. I still stand by my description of this game as being a 2D Bloodborne with bugs. I'm not... Is that a positive thing?
Quirrell the map guy?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I played it less than you guys, and I know that.
So I was just about to quiz you on that. Who's Quirrell, Daryl? And you didn't know. Well done.
He loves it. Joseph loves it. Shall I go first, because I played it the least and I've got the least to say about it?
Go on then.
We'll start off negative. I got it. I first played it. This is when it launched on Switch. So I played it and I thought, this is beautiful. This looks beautiful. It sounds beautiful. The animation is beautiful. The atmosphere, the style, the mood of it. I was like, this is absolutely my kind of game, my kind of feel, my kind of... it's got like a Tim Burton-y type vibe to it. And I loved it. Played it for about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour, I can't remember now. And I died. And I had to go back to the beginning because I didn't save it. And I went, I don't think so, mate. And I turned it off for about 8 months. That was my first introduction to Hollow Knight. And in a weird way, that sort of is like a microcosm of my experience with the game. When I'm playing the game, and outside of the dying and losing progress and losing things, I loved it. I think it's a brilliant game. I have even though I gave up on it, I have no qualms in saying I can see this is a brilliant game. It's designed brilliantly. The difficulty feels really kind of spot on and balanced. The kind of combat's great. The power ups were great. Everything about it, most things about it was amazing. The one aspect of it which ultimately drove me to stop playing it is that dying, having to reclaim your soul. I mean, we've chatted about this over the months when we played things like the... was it not Alien game? Was it an Alien game?
Demastered.
Oh, the Mummy and stuff like that. And in other games, I've done it. Like Zombie U did it, for example. You have to go back and face, so... And it just absolutely ruined it for me. And so, and every time it happened, every time I lost progress, every time I had to go to an area which I shouldn't have gone to, but I ended up progressing through it anyway, I went there too soon or whatever, and I was like, I've got to go through that whole area again. I didn't get the map, so I don't quite even know how to get there. Every time that happened, I wanted to give up on it. And after a little while, it just got too much. I was like, the game was too long for me to keep doing that. I was like, like I said, I played it for maybe just under 10 hours, and I was like, if it was about 10, 15 hours, I'd have probably stuck with it, but I thought, I've got another 20 hours of this, and it was too frustrating. But, we've chatted about our backlogs. I thought, I've got so many games, I don't have loads of time, I don't want to waste my time, losing an hour every 5 I play it, and it just became too much, even though I respected everything about it, bar that stupid mechanic. Which even in itself, you can unlock that guy and pay him money to then get your soul back. And it's like, so what? Why do it then? If you can skip doing it, why have it anyway? I don't understand it. Maybe one of you guys will tell me. I don't understand what benefit it has to the enjoyment of that game in any way. Because it's not challenging. This is the thing. It's like, it doesn't make it challenging. There's loads of games where you can die at. It wasn't that hard. It's not as hard as some other games that we've played. It adds an unnecessary frustration. It's like, okay, so I've got to do a massive chunk again, or I've got to go through this section again and arbitrarily get my soul and get my things back. It didn't feel like a fun mechanic. and I don't get it. So I'd love one of you guys to sell me on why that was a good benefit of the game, but ultimately that killed it for me. So I gave up. I'm sorry, the first game, and I gave up.
Well, what I will say about the soul thing is, you said you'd be going through into areas where like you'd go through a bit and then you'd die, but you didn't have the map for it, so you wouldn't exactly know maybe where you were going. Whenever you die, your wee it shows up on like the map screen where you have died, so that does kind of help you get back to where you were.
I know they've got that little like the beacon thing.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same
looking
as
at you. But then you die again and you lose everything.
Yeah.
In the beginning, from what I can remember on the Discord, there's a few others talking about it as well. They experienced a lot of negativity in the beginning, just like you, Darren. That kind of thing. Oh, I've died, I got to go back. And then I didn't experience that in the beginning. I loved the exploration. Not in games like this. I do like that, going to new places, and it's the retraversal that gets me. It's coming back to the same area many, many times, and that's what slowly bit into me. I love the actual going out into new areas, and even with that soul mechanic where you've got to be, got to be careful. I don't want to die here now, so you're taking it nice and easy and steady, and getting back to a save point. A couple of times, yes, I've died and I've gone too far in, and it's very difficult to reclaim my soul, and there's a chair to the left screen instead of going to the right where I've gone, and there's no indication of where things are, and that is a bit annoying. But that sense of exploration, like Darren said, all the graphics, everything else, the thing that really finished it for me, and I did put about between 24 hours, about 24, 25 hours into it, was the boss fights. So those 24, 25 hours, and I've looked at maps subsequently, and I've opened up the entire, I think I'm only missing one map for the Fog Canyon. Other than not getting that map, the rest of the map is open for me, but I've spent extensive time in the Fog Canyon as well. There's only one place I haven't been, and that's obviously towards the end when you collect the masks. The thing that killed it for me then is I've done the exploration. I've seen pretty much 80% of the game at least. I've just got bosses left. I've got 2 mask bosses. I've got the Hornet for the second fight. I've got other bits and pieces, those dream bosses. And after going into the Hornet for the second time and just losing and losing and losing 6 times in a row, and then someone said, it might have even been Nick or Mark DeRose, and then saying, it's an easy fight, or it might be Smeagol. It's an easy fight, it's the same as the first one. It's like, it's not the same
Definitely
as the first
Smeagol.
one.
Definitely Smeagol.
It's not the same as the first one. She's going twice as fast. I jump in the air. It doesn't matter if I'm moving towards the air or jump at the last minute. She hits me every single time. I can't beat her. Forget it. And then I got to another boss. Kept on that, and then after the third boss I couldn't beat, and I'm just going around this area that I've been everywhere already, and that's it. I canned it because I can't be bothered to fight the bosses 25 times before I learn their patterns and get just that little bit of luck that will see me through to the next boss. Forget it.
It was Smeagol who said that.
Yeah.
He also messaged us. He sent us a message. He said, it's the goddamn best Metroidvania on the system, which is saying a lot considering some of the other awesome Metroidvanias on the system. One of the best indie games in the eShop. Simply a must-buy. You have a Switch, you need to buy this game. The amount of content is staggering. €15. I've played it for 52 and 54 hours. I think that's 52 to 54 hours. 100%. Max percentage for a full game is 112, I believe. I'm not done with it, though. I don't know if I'd go for the full 112. I'll probably try.
What a man.
Smeagol loves it. To be fair, he's defended this game. When we've had a little criticism in the Discord, he's straight in. He absolutely loves this game, which is to be fair, a lot of people do. Greg, do you love it? Are you more me and Lee, or are you more Smeagol?
Well, you already mentioned that I was almost scared to start it. A lot of these like really popular games that get raving reviews, like most of the time I end up disappointed with them for one reason or another. So I'm almost scared to start something like Hollow Knight. And the reason I picked it up was because like it came out at like a really good price. It was like £7 or something, and it was the sort of price you couldn't really say no to that. So got it. Obviously didn't play it for a while, and then one night I did dip in for like 15 minutes or whatever to get to the first save point. And my very, very first impression was that it was okay, but like the jumping and all felt really like, in some ways it felt tight, but for some reason like in some ways it kind of felt cheap as well. I'm not sure how to equate those two different things, but it did feel kind of cheap to me in some ways. But it was something that I got used to really quickly, and like you can like jump with precision and stuff.
Cheap as in cheaply made, or cheap as in like cheap deaths or cheap design?
And like it felt like a cheap game in some ways. I mean, it's really hard to say that whenever like whatever way you press the jump button, like you'll jump. Almost like it feels like really precise, but somehow it felt cheap to me. I don't know how to describe it.
Your horrific prejudice against indies?
Maybe you're onto something there. But so did that, and then like didn't really go back to it for a couple of weeks, and then we obviously started this here where we thought, right, we'll all sit down and play Hollow Knight. So again went into it, started off. I didn't really notice the really slow start that a lot of people seem to have with it. It kind of was fine to me. They were doing a bit of exploration and stuff. It was going fine. Like it was dying. It wasn't really taking that long to get back to where I was and stuff. So it was all kind of fine there. And then I got a few hours in, like maybe got to some areas that were a bit annoying. So it kind of did take the feeling down a wee bit. And then you'd go through other phases where like you're making loads of progress and it's great. And those points are like the really high points, and then like you say, whenever you're dying all the time, like that kind of killed it for you, Darren. It is like you would go through periods where it does sort of just like detract from the experience a bit, and that kept happening every like couple of hours or something. So it has some really good high points, but then the lows kind of take it down as well. But I don't think I ever was as frustrated with it as you. I remember actually quite early on, I remember like Lee and quite a few other people talking about this really troublesome boss fight. It was like the Mantis what is it?
The Mantis Lords.
The Mantis Lords.
Yeah.
And like that must have been about 5 hours in or something, and like all these people talking about it, and I started thinking, right, I'll have to look forward to it when I get to see those boys to see what they're like. And Darren, you said that you played it for about 10 hours and you were worried that you had maybe about another 20 hours to play on top of that. I finished the game in 21 hours. Okay. And I never saw the Mantis Lords once. So they weren't pivotal to the game at all. You can go around it. I finished the game with 51%, so like obviously there's loads of things I could still see. Lee said that he is missing the map from Fog Canyon. I think I have the map for everywhere. So you definitely can't be that far from the end, considering you put a good few extra hours in than I have. But overall I would say like it is a pretty solid 8 out of 10 sort of game.
And for you, that is glowing praise.
That is glowing praise. I actually quite enjoyed the bosses. Like I'm pretty sure it was Lee said that you didn't enjoy having to learn the boss fights just to make that slightly bit more progress and then like chase back up to get to them again and fight them again. But like those sorts of things just make me think of things like Punch Out, where you are just like learning the way the bosses move, and eventually you will crack it, and it's satisfying whenever you finally nail it, quite literally nail it. And I actually, for the most part, enjoyed the boss fights. There was a few areas where it was extremely frustrating. I can't even remember which. I know there was an area where it wasn't even a boss fight. I don't think it's just one of those areas where you walk in and like both sides of the room close off and there's like swarms of enemies come in now and again, and I died on that a few times and it was getting irritating, but then I got past that and then made loads more progress. But then like with the progress, there was other times where I felt like I was unlocking loads of the map. I maybe hadn't even found the map yet, but I was going through areas, getting quite a large part of the way, but I didn't feel like I was making progress, and that happened a few times, maybe where it was like a couple hours of gameplay where I maybe was slowly chipping away at it, but I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere significant. But then at the end of it, I was getting something, like one of the masks or whatever to unlock the door, so I was getting there, but I didn't feel like I was achieving anything. So, I don't know, bit of a rollercoaster ride, but overall pretty good.
8's better than pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, for me it is.
I'd say 8's great.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. I want to bring it down a little bit though. It's too positive. We've got some more comments from people on the first one's from our Facebook group, and he said Stephen Morin, I just find the confusion on knowing where to go next, mixed with the difficulty, to be very frustrating. Having the map as an equipable skill was one of the worst decisions in my opinion. Not as bad as making you go back and find your soul, Stephen, but I kind of agree. So he didn't like it. And then one, Mark DeRue's on the Discord server, he hasn't mentioned it in his comment about the game, but I know he hated the boss fights as well. He hated the idea of learning patterns. Weirdly, that was one of the bits that I didn't mind. I actually quite like stuff like that, but that is because it's that old school playing shoot 'em ups and stuff like that, and we've got to learn the patterns of the bosses, and I didn't mind that so much. But Mark DeRue's from the Discord server says, this game is so weird. It's impossible to love it. Well, it's not impossible, but, fair enough. But also impossible to hate it. You'd think he thinks it's all right, but we'll keep going. And also impossible to feel impartial to it. So you can't love it, you can't hate it, you can't think it's all right. Okay. It's like the girl you hate to love. This is getting weird. I can't give it a 10. Well, you kind of you covered that when you said it's impossible to love it, so I gathered you couldn't give it a 10. I can't give it a 10 because it infuriates me so often. Agreed, Mark. But if I gave it a lower score, I would feel like I'm... Bloody hell, it's not 10 or nothing. You know what I mean? I could give it lower than 10. But if I gave it a lower score, I would feel like I'm not doing the game enough justice. So I'm going to give it an 8.8. But he gave it a higher rating than you, Greg, and he didn't even like it. If they could add something to it, maybe an easy mode, I'd give it a 10. Because I'd actually have a chance to 100% it. But that's personal and seems based on my skills. The little time I have for gaming in general and my dedication to it would have maybe gotten a 10 from me in my low 20s. I think he's kind of saying maybe similar to me and Lee to an extent, where you can sort of see what is so good about it. There is so much that's good about it. But subjectively, it's not the game for me, wasn't the game for Lee, and it's clearly not the game for Mark. And to an extent, I kind of agree with him. Maybe 20 years ago, I probably would have loved it. Because, but now, we all own stupid amounts of games, and it's like, nah, I ain't got time for this. But yeah, thank you, Mark.
To go back to his point, like you said that he wasn't keen on the boss fights either. One of my biggest irritations was one of the things that actually is really good about the game is like the healing system, where like you hold the A button in to recover your health. When you're in the boss fights, there's sometimes it's so tight to find a window to try and heal yourself, and the amount of times I tried to heal myself, and just as I got healed, straight away the enemy just attacks me. And it's just like it was pointless doing it.
There's a charm that allows you to draw in more soul quickly to heal yourself quicker. I never used it though, so I don't know the how much of a speed boost that would have been.
I don't think it was quicker, was it? Wasn't it that you got more soul?
Oh, when you kill people,
it filled the meter quicker.
There's a separate one. There's one that will heal you quicker as well.
Okay. I certainly got the one that gives you more soul. Quite early on, I used that throughout the whole game, but I never had that many notches, so I never really played around with like adding the different what is it called, the badges or whatever.
Charms.
Oh, the charms, yeah. Never really played around with them that much because I never really had the space to do it, so I always had one equipped to see where I was on the map, which that is kind of a waste, I guess, but that's better that than not knowing where you're going.
As Stephen said, is one of the worst decisions in life.
What do you think about the general kind of notches and equipable skills? In most Metroidvania kind of games, you learn a skill and it's there. Everything. You become this. This is one thing I think that at the end let it down as well for me, is that you become this really badass character that can do everything at any time. And with Hollow Knight, you had to go to, you come to a boss, you'd have to go to a rest area, like a bench, and then you'd have to change your equipable skills to meet the circumstance. I'm thinking, I don't understand that. I can understand it from a kind of a perspective of, it gives you some tactical advantage. No, just give it all to me. I've worked my ass off for 25 hours, but trying to get these skills. Just give them. I want to be this overpowered guy who finishes the game.
Does it get like that then? Because I didn't get that far. For me, the skill, the charms felt like they were just little bonuses, but the skills were permanent. But does it get to a stage where actually there's more important skills that you need to equip for a boss?
For me, yes.
Someone's like the spirits in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I actually never found that. I never went to a boss and thought, right, I need to go back to a bench here and change what I've got equipped. I never had that sort of issue. I just thought, I've already got equipped what I need to beat any fight. It's just about perseverance and figuring it out, really.
I would change my loadout basically, and that's something they could have done. They could have had loadouts for it, for your notches and your charms. And I go to a boss and I think, oh, I've died there, right? Okay, maybe I need this one, and change over to something that allows me to grab more soul, so I can send out those shockwaves that he kind of shoots with soul a bit more often. Or I need to do this and that, and I need to equip the shield. The shield was a handy one to have around you all the time. There's this floating shield that circles you 360, which will take out the smaller enemies as well, but it can also deflect some of the boss's attacks. So yeah, I would be swapping and changing as I got to certain parts of the game.
I can understand that. I like games when you've like there's progress and you feel as if you're slowly powering up. For me, there's a lot of satisfaction in doing that in games, and the idea of constantly compromising isn't as fun as constantly getting better and better and more powerful. That's kind of, when you think of like Metroid and stuff, where you start off with nothing and then you build it up. That's the whole buzz of it is slowly. But yeah, so I get that. I never got far enough into the game to appreciate. I never realised the charms were that effective, to be honest. But just before we get on to you, Nick, we're going to get onto the final mini review from someone on our Facebook group. Johan Forster. Johan, yeah. Said, the game is enormous, definitely a lot larger than I initially thought. The map design is fantastic and chock full of lore. Is it?
Yes.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's lots of characters to talk to who go, hey, remember this, remember that. And as you go into just even the little bits and pieces you get from little statues you see, and yeah, it fills this story, overarching story of this place that's run into desolation.
Cool. Okay. Chock full of lore, and they really used environmental storytelling effectively. The backtracking is the only thing that really got to me. With very few fast travel spots, it can become very tedious. However, it is, in my opinion, the Metroidvania game that people will be comparing other Metroidvania games to for the foreseeable future. I still think Metroidvania, they'll probably still compare it to Metroid. It's in the title. It's not going to be Hollow Knightvania. I'm being facetious or a dick, depending on your perspective, but I get what you're saying. Actually, I think it does seem to be like the pinnacle, like in a way, like Shovel Knight is, say, like Mega Man or Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever. Like people are going to compare games like that to Shovel Knight, and maybe this is the epitome of Metroidvanias for Hollow Knight. Maybe SteamWorld Dig 2 would have something to say about that. I don't know if that's. Don't feel quite the same. SteamWorld Dig 2 is on another level to this, but that's not what this podcast is about. But so Nick, do you hate Hollow Knight? Are you impact? Can you give it a 10 out of 10, or does it feel or can you give it a little bit lower than 10 out of 10?
It's really, really difficult to say exactly. I don't like giving game scores personally, but I want to thank you boys.
You're welcome.
for suggesting this game, because like Darren and Greg, I got it when it was on sale in like August or September. I played it for 30, 45 minutes and thought, play that later. And then it never did. So I booted it up for this. And my first impressions were, what's the fuss about? I liked the art style, but I thought because the opening town, Dirtmouth, and then the second, when you go down from Dirtmouth, what's it called again?
Crossroads.
The Forgotten Crossroads, or the Infected Crossroads later on. I thought it was just dull, it's all grey. I liked the animation, I liked the art style, but I just thought, I really hope not every world's like this, because I can't look at this for the next 20 hours. It wasn't interesting enough. And I had exactly the same problems, probably felt even more angered than you guys. You probably can have a look on the Discord at how frustrated I was getting at the beginning of the game, I can't believe this is happening, I can't believe I have to go back all the way over there, died again, lost all my money. I was getting really frustrated with it. But actually, when I think about it now because I have finished it with 88%, so I've seen everything almost. And for me, the biggest thing was how much games have changed since the 90s. Because this experience for me in the first, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours was just I honestly cannot believe that I used to put up with this I don't know, I said it in the Discord many times, I don't have time for this. Why am I doing the same stuff over and over again? Over and over and over again. But then I realised that I was playing it in the wrong way. That I was rushing into things, that I was trying to get everything done as quickly as possible, and that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do and just playing the game correctly, like learning what you need to do, how you need to tackle each enemy, how you need to get through the platforming sections, how you need to be careful, don't rush things and stuff like that. And one game which I really thought was quite similar to this was Celeste. I don't know if you boys played that. Did you play Celeste?
Yeah, masterpiece.
Finished it?
Yeah,
Yeah?
amazing.
Lee, Greg, you play Celeste?
Haven't got it yet. Waiting for a sale.
Same here, waiting for the sale.
Celeste was one of those indie games that I played, and like, I know lots of people really like the story. It did absolutely nothing for me. I hated the story. I wasn't interested in it at all. But it was just I'm sorry, but I really didn't like it. But it was just the raw, this is a video game, can you beat it, that I really liked. And it was really like a throwback to the 90s. And I just persevered with it and pushed on. And then with this, it's also throwback to the 90s, but in a different way. So Celeste was more about like accuracy, and the platforming in Celeste was absolutely incredible. It was so accurate and so good. And in this, it's not as good as Celeste, and the platforming sections really annoyed me in places. But it does the Metroid thing so well. And it's what Greg was talking about earlier. When you go into a new area and you have 2 health and no soul, and you have no map, and you're 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms, and like, where do I go now? Where's the bench? There's so much tension, and you're thinking, how far can I go? Should I go back and save first or something like this? And it was that exploration was really, really, really good for me. Something that was really interesting. It's something that if I hadn't like taken that step back from the game when I was getting frustrated and thought about it, I would have just, like you, Desi, I would have just given up and been like, I can't be arsed with this. It's not worth my time. But I kind of I stopped for a couple of days and thought, think about it, just go back to it and just take it more slowly. And that's what I did. I started playing it with a different mentality. Like, instead of trying to get through it and see it to the end, it was like, just sit back and enjoy it and just try to learn the mechanics. And that's exactly what I did. And traversal, the retraversal especially, is tiresome. But it's tiresome because it's teaching you that if you want to retraverse this area again and again and again, then you need to get good at this game. Otherwise, that's what you're going to be doing. And I think when I got to about 15 hours and I'd unlocked a few areas and beaten a few bosses with a lot of difficulty and a lot of swearing, the game just sort of clicked and became much, much easier. And all the stupid mistakes that I was making in the beginning and dying all the time, I haven't made. And I'm 35, 36 hours in now. And the last time I died and then died again after I lost my shadow was in the first 10 hours. So I've always managed to get it back. I've always managed, or I've gone to the woman in Dirtmouth and just quickly resurrected myself. But
there is a slightly sneaky way out of that, which I used maybe like once or twice actually. And a wee frustrating area is like, so I'd die and then my shade or shadow or whatever it is be like quite a bit away, and I was going through like quite a difficult section of the game, and there's a few times where I was getting down to 1 health.
Pause out and
just
quit
about
out of the game.
past. Yeah, you just quit out of the game.
yeah.
It just takes you back to the bench and you get
It's
another
true.
go at it. Yeah.
I did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
But only when I was fighting bosses. No, it's true, you can do that as well. But yeah, once I got to the City of Tears, and I really got into like, I remember the last really, really, really frustrating moment I had was with the boss in the City of Tears. And I was complaining on the Discord like, oh, it's impossible, how do you do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I beat it. And then after that, I never had any more problems because I just started approaching the game in a different way. Like, I was doing stuff like sitting at the bench, changing my notches, changing my charms, like appropriate for which boss, like how should I do this, how should I do this. Really actively looking for secrets. I found a lot of the soul tank upgrades. I found the mask, like the health upgrades and stuff like that. I found a lot of the new powers. They really helped as well. And as I became more powerful, I was thinking, oh, I remember like in the crystal maze or whatever it was, there was this bit that I couldn't get to. What? Not the crystal maze. What was it
Crystal
called?
Peak.
Crystal Peak. Sorry, not a 90s TV show. In the Crystal Peak area, I was like, oh, there was that bit that I couldn't get to, and I went back and I did it, and I found something else, and then I was like, oh yeah, as well. In the Queen's Gardens, there was that bit as well, which I couldn't get through, and then I went back and I did that, and like I just kept going around the map and finding all these other things which made me stronger and stronger, and eventually, like, I remember getting to like 20 hours, like, I haven't got any of these masks yet, like, how long is this game? I'm never going to do it. But I got Mask 1, 2, Mask 1, Mask 1, Mask 2, Mask 3 in like 4 hours, 5 hours. Because I just became powerful. I'd explored a lot. And that was the thing that I really liked, was the exploration. And that if you just take a step back and approach each area carefully and stuff like that, you can really, it just becomes more enjoyable. It's just such a good Metroidvania game. It's such a good game, really.
Or Metroid, because you don't know what the Vania bit's like.
All right, it's a good Metroid game. And I want to say as well, like, I honestly can't believe that this game was made by 3 people. That is absolutely incredible, because the map design and the level design is so good. Now that I've seen it all and I've seen how it all connects and all the secrets and stuff like that, absolutely amazing map design. The graphics are absolutely beautiful, the art direction, everything. Like, after being disappointed in the first and second area, there is a lot of variation. The City of Tears with the rain and the music, absolutely stunning. The soundtrack's incredible. I've downloaded it onto my computer and onto my phone. I've been listening to it a bit. It's just such a good and such a beautiful, beautiful game, and it's so well crafted. And this, like, all these like roguelikes and stuff like that we've been playing recently. We talk. Me and Lee have said that we like Enter the Gungeon a lot, but there's something in a game that's just like perfectly crafted, that's still so good. And honestly, for me, I can say that this game reminded me exactly why I fell in love with gaming in the first place. Like,
Bold.
It is not a 10 out of 10 perfect game. There are problems. For me, it's too difficult at the beginning. Like, it's 2019, and I was reading the forums where we met the other day, and I noticed a lot of people gave up, like you guys, or like Dazzy, sorry, in the first few hours, who I think would really, really, really have enjoyed this game if they'd seen it through. And it's a shame, because I think the difficulty spike at the beginning is too much, and at the end it's not enough, and it could be a little bit more evenly spread out.
So you think the balance of the game's a little way off?
It's very, very minor, but that would be like the biggest complaint I have with it. That it's just a little bit too hard and a little bit too frustrating for 2019. Because if it was in the 90s, I'm sure it would be an all-time classic. It's just we've changed our perception of how to play games, I think.
And I would say, like, game like Shovel Knight adapted to the modern age
Better.
Without the frustrations of the old games.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his intention, and everyone loves it. But then it becomes about these kind of personal preferences on what it's like. Like I say, it's like everything about it I liked. It was just that mechanic was just a bit too much for me. I'm guessing you're going to get the sequel.
Absolutely, can't wait for it.
Lee, I'm guessing not.
No, I've had my fill. And where Nick said like you become this overpowered, I never felt overpowered, and I felt the opposite, that the beginning was okay and it got too difficult. And then Greg summed up my feelings in a post with Lethal Weapons Danny Glover saying I'm too old for this shit. And it's true.
That's exactly how I felt. That is honestly how I felt.
So
I wanted to sack it in so badly, and I'm so glad that I persevered, because I don't know what's coming this year, but I'm very confident in saying this could be my game of the year.
Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, when did it come out? Was it last year or even 2 years ago?
Box Boys coming out next month.
Come on. Now this is a really special game, and I urge everyone especially people who are gamers in the 90s, I urge everyone to at least try it and try to persevere if they find it frustrating.
Greg, are you going to get the sequel?
I'm not sure quite yet, actually, because Smeagol said that he's obviously like maybe aiming to get the 112%, and I think Nick, you're progressing still, maybe. But
that's the thing as well, and that's another thing. Usually when I finish a game, that's it, I'm done with it. But I've finished it about 5 or 6 hours ago, and I've just been exploring and beating more bosses. Like, I'm not done. I feel like I want to keep going. I probably won't go for 112% because it does sound absolutely brutal, and I'm not ready for that. But I'll try to get 100. Why not? Finish the main game, not the DLC.
Yeah, see, it's never really been like that for me. As soon as I beat the Hollow Knight at the end, it was like, I'm done. And like I said, I've only done 51%.
Yeah.
But it's like I've got no desire to go any further. And like even games that I love, like the original Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo was one of my favourite games of all time. I've never even bothered to beat it 100% before. There just
101%.
Well, yeah. But there's like there's plenty of games, like mostly the Mario games, for example. Like I'll do absolutely everything in Mario games and
Toad
and Toad stuff. Yeah, so there's quite a few games, but there's other games where I maybe enjoy them quite a lot, but just the desire to like go for absolutely everything, and it's just not there. And this is one
I
of
think
those
that's
games.
fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's good that that you can. Some people can play it, and I think that's what's good about Nintendo actually is that you can do it and you can play it really simply. You can get another level of getting all the extras, like Yoshi. Yoshi's perfect for that, and you got all those kind of extra sort of unlockables and stuff.
Celeste, by the way, is one game that I wouldn't even attempt to anywhere close to 100%.
Same.
Yeah.
Because once I'd done those, like the main levels, the B-sides, C-sides, no way I'm doing that. Absolutely
Did
no
you
way.
At what point did you give up on the strawberries?
As soon as I finished the main game. Like, I know I'm not good enough, but I enjoyed the
I gave
experience.
up about 10 levels in. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not even bother
Yeah.
going for them anymore.
Yeah.
You've actually mentioned Celeste a couple of times there, and you mentioned Crystal Peak as well. The moment I got to Crystal Peak in Hollow Knight was the moment where I actually started really enjoying
Me
Hollow
too.
Knight, because
That's for me as well, yeah.
yeah, because like the platforming started to get a bit more challenging and stuff, and there was a few moments going through that where I thought it sort of like, I've never played Celeste, but seeing it reminded me of Celeste, and going through the wee platform challenges, I thought, maybe kind of think, you know what, I maybe would quite like to pick Celeste up at some point.
Like Nick, everyone bangs on about the story and why it's so important. It's like I'm like Nick. It's like I didn't hate the story like him, but it's like
I didn't
that's
hate
not
it.
what's good about the
It's
game.
dull.
That's not what's good about it, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, fine, but it's like the game is platform perfection.
Yeah, it really is.
And all that there actually, it's a kind of different genre, and you're talking about the strawberries and Celeste and stuff there. I played a game over a year ago, I'm sure it was. It was a review code actually for Atomic Run Gun Jump Gun. It's actually really good. It's very good. It's not
on sale at
platform.
the minute, isn't it?
It might be. I'm not sure, but
I think it's one of those games that's always on sale now. But it came out a
It's
while
not-
ago, didn't it?
yeah, it's not platforming as such, but it's the same sort of vibe where you have to like move your character like very precisely through these like different sort of levels, and like all these different obstacles and things that can hit you. They're really quick levels. You just go through a bit, and then if you hit anything, you go straight back to the beginning again. But if you like Celeste, you might actually get a wee bit of a kick out of something like that.
Cool.
Worth it
Awesome.
if it's a good price.
It sounds like we all ultimately had a lot of respect for Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Mealy bottled it.
Yeah.
Greg and Nick finished it.
I think that was the thing that was kept me going for so long. It's like, oh, I gotta do it. I gotta do it for the podcast. And eventually, no, it got the better of me.
Yeah. What would you give it? I'm guessing, Nick, you're more of a 9. I know you don't like giving scores, but
Between a 9 and a 10, definitely. It's one of the best games I've played in a very, very long time. Yeah.
awesome.
On our scale of 5 stars, and I haven't
come
even
on, we're just
thought
doing 10
about
out
it
of
yet.
I like you just discussed our 10 out of 10. In our scale,
Terrible.
out of
It's our
5.
5 stars. Thank you very much. But we do have half stars. The frustrations are on me. It's not because of the game. You know, it's hard to score a game down and go, oh, it's a 3.5 or it's a 3-star because I'm not good enough, or don't have the patience to get through these last few bosses. So from what I can see, it's like a 4 out of 5. It is pushing that 8 out of 10. You know, same as Greg. How about you, Darren?
Yeah, sort of same. I think I kind of agree with what you're saying. It's like it's a subjective thing. It's like objectively, the game is impressive in so many ways. Subjectively, it did my head in a little bit. So it's like, as a game, yeah, maybe like an 8, 9 out of 10. For me, 6, 7. Like for my taste at this moment in time. Yeah, cool. We're gonna do another one. We're gonna do them every couple of months, aren't we? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Have we narrowed it down to either Zelda 2 or Star Tropics? Is that
Those
is
are
that
the
agreed?
two. Well, half agreed, but yeah, let's say it is.
Greg, are you going to join? I mean, I don't want to force you into something. You know, are you going to do it?
Yeah,
You got to.
I'll certainly try out whatever games selected, but I can't say I'm that enthusiastic about either of the NES titles. But we all have them, obviously. So
And it'll be a shorter experience.
Don't know. out the NES games though, we've chosen the 2 longest
Yeah.
ones. But Zelda 2, I've tried playing this game so many times. I don't
Me too.
like it. I don't like it.
I do
But-
like it. It's just too hard.
Okay. But at least it's a Zelda game. So even like battling through a bad or a frustrating Zelda game, is like it's still, at least it's got some like, well, I kind of want to be forced to play it because I've tried and I don't want to. So Star Tropics is meant to be great, so I'm interested in that. But so what's the plan? Are we going to say Are we gonna have a bit of a vote on it, or
We should have a vote on it.
or-
Yeah, we'll have a vote. They'll stick it on the Discord and all our social media and see what comes up.
So if anybody listening, message in and say which game that we all want to play, with Zelda 2 or Star Tropics.
Yeah, and you can contact me, Lee, at nintendoreview.co.uk. Our Twitter is at Nintendo_review, and our Facebook page and group are Nintendo Review, one word.
So what's the timeline then? If we're gonna it's every couple of months. End of May, like first week in May or end of April?
End of April.
End of April.
Yeah.
Last week in April, we're going to have finished whichever game. So when do we decide? By next week's podcast, we have to decide.
We have to decide, yes. You got a week now to get our votes in, if you're listening to this podcast, and I'll get it up as soon as I can on social media and on Discord. And you got a week then to vote to see which game it is, Zelda 2 or Star Tropics, on the NES Nintendo Switch Online app. Or you can play it on anything you want. I mean, they're both there, aren't they, on the Wii U Virtual Console? Or
The NES Classic.
NES Classic.
Yeah. Star Tropics is on that, is it?
No, it's
Yes,
not.
it
no,
is. Yes, it is.
Is it? Really?
Ah, there we are. You can play it on anything you want, but join it.
A real NES.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have Star Tropics actually. I own a lot of NES games, but I don't own that. Yeah, please Star Tropics, please. Although, how long is it?
I have
It's
no
a NES
idea.
game. It won't be massively long if it's a NES game.
Can we not just choose Yoshi's Cookie?
No, it's terrible.
Yoshi's Cookie's nice. Love it.
Kirby's Adventure.
It's another game Smeagol loves. And will literally fight anybody to the death who disagrees.
Just glad I'm in a different country.
Yeah, Mark liked it as well. Have you guys played it? Me and Greg are on the anti-Kirby's Adventure. Mark and Smeagol on the Discord channel loves it. Where do you two sit?
I don't love to play it. I love to see it as this nostalgic piece which has pushed Kirby to what it is today, and you go back to it and yeah, it's janky. It just doesn't feel right. But
It's boring.
it's not
Janky as hell.
It's janky,
It's
but
not good. It's not
I
a
don't
good
think
experience.
It's so boring. It's only one player as well, isn't it? You know, no way would I want to play that again.
Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy, much better game.
Yeah, I prefer the Game Boy game. Game Boy game.
Much better. But I respect Kirby's Adventure.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to play it.
I think I played it. When was the last time I played it? I think on the Wii U.
Mine was on the 3DS, 3D Classics.
Not worth 30p.
I swear. I'll buy anything for 30p. Awesome. Well, that was Hollow Knight. That is this week. And we'll speak to you next week when we're relatively back to normal. Okay, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.